All right, this is our next episode of True Wrestling Fan Discussions, continuing our Dark Side of the Ring review series. I'm your host, Mike.
I'm Frank. Let's get into this, man. This is the one. This is Junkyard Dog.
Yep.
Is the next episode. This was this one really got to me because he was one of my favorites growing up in wrestling in
My
WWE. I love his charisma. We've talked about it.
yeah, like my early
Everything about him.
some of my earliest wrestling memories are Junkyard Dog.
Yes.
Those like some of my earliest. Obviously him, Hogan, Macho Man. Those
Yep.
are like my first memories.
Yeah. But JYD always stood out to me as the
Mhm.
most charismatic, energetic guy in the ring.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite Saturday Night main events is when he teamed with Hulk Hogan and he had Hogan getting down with him. It
Yeah.
was just, it was
Yeah, that's
awesome.
cool.
But the story they told on Dark Side, unfortunately, again, if it wasn't a sad tale, it wouldn't be on Dark Side. So let's get into it. They called him a hero to the working class, which he was, without a doubt. They had Jake Roberts on there. He had said that the territory that he wrestled in down in New Orleans, Louisiana, was one of
Mhm.
the toughest territories if you wrestled JYD, because you're lucky you come out and your car wasn't
Yeah,
destroyed or whatnot if you beat him. I thought that was
that's
funny.
funny.
They were loyal to the guy. You can't blame him. He got his first start. They showed Stampede Wrestling 1979. He was wrestling Jim the
Calgary, yeah.
Anvil Neidhart, which I thought was pretty cool. Jim Ross was on the show. He was a friend of JYD's. He had said that he had a lot of charisma, which I had just said earlier. Bill Watts was the first guy. Cowboy Bill Watts was the first guy that took a chance on
Mhm.
JYD, and he made him famous down in Mid South. Coco Beware was another guy
Mhm.
that was on there. He said that how Bill Watts gave him a chance to make money. The one thing that Watts had the rule though, and I mean, I agree with it. Every wrestling organization and territory should have had it, that if you got into any type of bar fight, any type of scuffle, regardless of the outcome, you're fired. So you have a certain decor,
Yeah.
a certain demeanor to uphold working for him. Ernie Ladd was actually the guy that brought JYD to Bill Watts, which was cool. Tony Atlas was on there. Tony actually he looked pretty good on this one. Tony Atlas was another guy I liked. In the 1980s, tag champion with Rocky
Mhm.
Johnson, one of my favorites. Um, he said that JYD was a football player, so they kind of transformed that into his wrestling ability,
Yeah.
which was pretty
His
cool.
style, his wrestling style, yeah.
Yeah, and now they had Ted DiBiase on there, who not only was one of the greatest villains that he worked with in Mid South, was also one of his best friends. He was
Hmm.
actually um, with him when he got married, and they he highlighted what Dog did is he said he highlighted the best things he did in the ring,
Hmm.
and he knew, like I said, he knew DiBiase would not make him look bad in the ring, which he didn't. And like I said, he was at his wedding, which I thought was cool. Um, so pretty much, bottom line, the first part of the show was showing how Bill Watts made him a star in Mid South. They called him down there the Black Hulk Hogan. I can agree with that.
Yeah,
I,
that's how big he
I
was.
yes,
No,
tremendously big.
they mentioned something about Bill Watts saying like his favorite color was green. So like
Exactly.
he didn't
Yes,
care
he
about
didn't.
race or anything. It's about the money. This guy was making money, he
Amen,
was a
amen to
star.
that. Which,
Yeah.
which unfortunately it
Mm.
should be, but it wasn't.
Mhm.
But yes, he thought it was green. If it made
Yeah.
sense, it made
Yeah.
money, he would do it. Jim Cornette was also on there. He talked about how he worked storylines with JYD, especially with the Freebirds. And
Oh yeah, yeah.
this was a crazy one, man.
Kayfabe.
They, yeah, the fans didn't believe
Mm.
how they used to have like a hair cream that will remove
Yeah.
your hair, kind of like Nair, but not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Something similar
And
to that.
JYD interfered and it got into his eyes. So now they're doing the storyline where he's blind and whatnot, and now all the fans are upset at the Freebirds. They've marked him for death. There was at an event, JYD sitting ringside with,
Right.
with his
Supposedly.
glasses.
Cornette
Yes,
said Cornette said
supposedly, yes, yes, I
yeah,
will say
yeah.
that supposedly.
Cornette said JYD directly told him the story, but the story has been, contradicted by other people. But
Exactly. But I figured it was a humorous
I'd like to
story to
believe it
tell.
because it's an incredible story.
I would too, because they show Michael Hayes pointing at JYD,
Yeah, the
and
reenactment. Yeah,
yeah, and hey, what was it? The fan all of a sudden just comes from behind and says, "Don't worry, dog. I
I
got
got him
him,"
or something like that.
and
Yeah.
and supposedly he pulls the gun out.
Right. And during this time, kayfabe storyline wise, the Junkyard Dog is blind, so
Yeah,
he's not supposed to be able to
he
see this
can't
guy
get
with the
he can't
gun.
get up and go, "Whoa, what
Right,
the
right, right. Hey, what are you
hell?"
doing? Yeah. So like, what did Cornette said that supposedly JYD was like thinking like, do I break kayfabe or not?
Yeah, or do I stick
Right.
here and like hope to God this guy doesn't do anything?
But before he can make a decision, the cops grab the guy.
Yeah,
Damn.
I would like to think some version of this is true.
That's an incredible story. If that
It
story is
is.
true, that's an incredible story.
It is totally 100%. And people wanted to kill the Freebirds as a result of this, and they talked about the famous dog collar match that the
Hmm.
two eventually would have.
Yeah.
Um, Teddy Long was actually another one that was interviewed on here, and how he talked about JYD was a huge draw, and he was
Hmm.
without a doubt. He would visit schools. They would actually declare a JYD day, which I thought was pretty awesome. Um, they got into his past. He grew up in Wadesboro, North Carolina. Grew up without a dad. They interviewed his nephew, Jarvin Woodburn Jr. He showed the house that they grew up in. I love how he said, "If you got a number one, you pee in the bucket. If you got a number two, you're the
Yeah.
holder to go outside."
Oh Jesus.
Um, then they showed how he had a daughter named Latoya,
Mm.
and being on the road, taxes family relationships, all I think Jake Roberts was talking about this to when they brought it up. Another story that Tony Atlas was telling was how women would pay JYD to sleep with them,
That's crazy.
and how Atlas needed some extra money. JYD was like, come with me." So they're doing this thing. All of a sudden, here comes one of the women's
Husband.
husbands,
Yeah.
and JYD beat the crap out of him.
Yeah, he threw him a beating, and
Oh my god.
then the girl stayed. Apparently, it's not like they left afterwards. But
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
80s, man.
Yeah.
80s. Um, what else was I going to say? He fortunately, fortunately for him, he caught the eye of Vince McMahon in 1984 when Vince was seizing the talent, I guess you would say,
He was
from the
poaching. He was
territory.
poaching
He's
the talent.
poaching. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say for what it is, he was poaching the talent. And this JYD walked out and signed with WWE, which
Hmm.
just this broke Bill Watts' heart. It sent shockwaves through Mid South. He actually went on a tirade on TV on JYD, which is not something that's
Yeah.
usually done.
Yeah.
Well, rarely done.
He really took it hard because apparently he was
Yes.
paying him really well. Like he was paying
Yeah,
him really, really well
they talked
for
about they were making
territory.
8 to 10 grand a week.
Yeah, for a territory that small,
Yeah, that's pretty
for him
impressive.
to make that money, and but hey, you got to do what you got to do. You wanted to you go to the big leagues, so.
Yeah, and so now Bill Watts is trying to find his replacement. And some of the guys he brought in that didn't work, they talked about George Wells, another former WWE wrestler, Brickhouse Brown, remember him, I believe, in AWA, the Snowman, Natural Butch Reed.
Yeah.
But nobody could compare it to JYD's charisma and the way he was in the ring. No way. And the fans welcomed JYD in the WWE.
Hmm.
He was very popular. Sometimes I would question the ovation they gave for him to Hulk Hogan's almost sometimes. And JR had said that Vince did a remarkable job marketing JYD. He made his money. A lot of his money was made in action figures, cartoons,
Yeah.
the music video that he couldn't sing that well in. But then again,
nobody
he
could.
can't sing well. Vince can't dance.
No,
Hogan can't really probably play the guitar.
Supposedly, according to Hogan again. I don't know.
Yeah, well, according to Hogan,
That's another story.
it's another day. But the one thing that they talked about, the narrator, who was Chris Jericho for all of these, had said was he had failed to recapture his glory days of Mid South.
Right.
That was the unfortunate part in WWE.
Yeah, I mean, you could. I kind of got the impression, like, just watching his career and everything, like there were just so many megastars right there, and it was like it was good for him to go, but at the same time, he kind of got lost in the shuffle
Yeah.
to a degree with all that star power. Because remember, Vince takes talent from everywhere, from all those different territories, and brings them in.
I
Then
mean,
you
yeah,
got
you got Roberts, DiBiase, Duggan, Savage, Steamboat.
yep, and then on
Um,
top is Hogan, obviously.
exactly. And Hogan's
You
not
know,
going anywhere
and then
unless he's got a movie to make
you could see though physically too as well. Like he looked in much better shape before, but
in Mid South.
yeah, in Mid South, and you can see slowly how he's kind of losing his physique in WWF. But he he was still a popular wrestler. He just never
Yep. They
really reached that height, you know.
Tony Atlas was telling him how Vince sent him to go get JYD, bring him to the arena because they had a tag
Well,
match.
he already started having the drug problems at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, because what was this the story?
The
I
limo.
think they were in Mid South with Jake Roberts. Where he brings out the jar of speed pills, and
Oh
Jake is
yeah.
like, "Oh Lord,
Well, when Jake the Snake is the voice of reason, you got a problem,
yeah, it's
you
serious."
know.
Like, um, so according to Tony Atlas, when the limo picked him up, he tells the limo driver, go to this certain area. I got to pick some stuff up, and obviously, he's picking up drugs. It started with pot, then moved on to cocaine. Unfortunately, um, in the late '80s, they talked about he had a huge drug addiction now at this point,
Yeah, it was getting out of control.
and he didn't care. He was out of
Yeah, he
control,
was missing
and
dates. I think he was missing showing up late, missing dates, stuff like
the
that.
no shows is what got him
Yeah,
terminated from WWE,
yeah.
unfortunately. And I remember when I think it was in one of the wrestling magazines, could have been like Pro Illustrated, Pro Wrestling Illustrated or something. I remember reading that JYD was no longer with WWE. I was pissed because I was like, oh man, this guy was like, he could have been even a mid card champion to me. We discussed this
Yeah,
over
yeah, he
various
could have.
things that how he connected with the fans and everything, and how he was good there. And I couldn't believe that he was gone from there. But we didn't know the issues he was going through because they didn't publish those. So now, he's having a hard time. He's performing back on the independent circuit, against smaller crowds in gymnasiums and stuff. Luckily, now he joined WCW. He had one last hurrah because Bill Watts is now
Lots of
running
yeah,
WCW.
brought him back.
So despite everything that was going on, or what had happened
Yeah,
earlier, Bill Watts didn't hold a grudge and brought him in. However, this wasn't the same JYD that we
no,
knew. And I remember seeing him on a couple of Clash of Champions up against Flair, and he had lost a step or two.
yeah, he wasn't the same.
And it was a shame. And he said, Jake Roberts had said that he saw JYD in 1995, talked to him. He rambled on for a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
He went to the ring, wrestled for like 2 minutes. That was it. Came back, got his money, ran out.
yeah,
And the only time they ever saw him was when he needed the money. He would come do his
yeah.
thing and then disappear, which was sad. Um, J- Ted DiBiase had mentioned also JYD had told him the kids that you mentor, talk to them about doing, tell them to
Hmm.
do, not to do what I'm doing
Right, right.
because Ted had at this point now DiBiase had changed his life around. He was mentoring kids. He was talking in churches and stuff, and JYD reached out to him and said, "Hey, make sure they're not doing what I'm doing." Um, he had missed his daughter's graduation. The one thing he was looking forward to, he got there late. They were talking about how he missed the graduation but was there at the house. The last time his nephew, they showed the photo of the last time he held his nephew's kid
Hmm.
and whatnot. It was actually on June 1st, 1998. He went to drive home, got in a single car accident on Interstate 20 near Forest, Mississippi. He didn't wear a seatbelt. They talked about how he was too
Well,
big for
yeah, his
it.
nephew felt like he must have not had it on because he was too big.
Yeah, because how big he was.
Uh,
And it was a single car accident. Had flipped multiple times. They said they saw head trauma, and whatnot. He had passed away at the age of 45, tragically, which is
Yeah.
unfortunate. They believe that he fell asleep at the wheel, and they said that
Well,
how when you're on
Teddy Long
Teddy Long,
speculated.
yeah, speculated, yeah, exactly that how if you're on cocaine and whatnot, if you're up for so many days, then all of a sudden it's a rapid
Your body was
crash.
shut down. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that he possibly maybe fell asleep, and then this
Yeah.
happened. So at the age of 45, it was sad to see him go. And I mean, it would have been nice to see him actually there when they inducted him into the Hall
Yeah.
of Fame at WrestleMania 20, standing there one more time doing the bark and whatnot instead of
Yeah. It
his
would have been.
daughter being there to take the honor.
Then his daughter,
But the
unfortunately, she passes away from the heart thing, something with her heart valve
ruptured heart valve or something.
ruptured.
Yeah.
Yeah, at 31 years old or something like that.
Oh man, it's just a shame
Yeah,
for the family. It really is.
seriously. That's probably what, and the nephew mentioned how it's hard for his sister to, JYD's sister to talk about him. That's probably why she wasn't interviewed on the show, and
Yeah.
the nephew was there.
Yeah.
Um,
That
because
makes
they
sense.
were
You know,
close. They were obviously very close. It's just sad. I mean, the guy was a tremendous talent. He was a trailblazer, one of the first big African American superstars, and he laid the groundwork, for the Booker T's and all the big time,
absolutely.
stars and everything. So another tragic tale, man. But solid episode of Dark Side of the Ring.
Mhm.
Um,
Definitely.
yeah. So sad,
So
man.
that's the only way you can sum up these episodes. I mean, I said it before, I'll say it again. If you're on Dark Side of the Ring,
Yeah,
it's not a good tale.
yeah, no. All right. Well, you guys make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon.
Take care.